Alysa Liu labels Eileen Gu's haters as hypocrites for bashing traitorous Chinese Olympian. Eileen Gu and Alysa Liu were two of the most talked about athletes at the Olympics. Not only did they have similar success at the Milano Cortina Games, they have similar stories. However, Liu chose to represent the United States while Gu chose to represent China. The former thinks critics of the latter are talking out of both sides of their mouth. They're hypocrites. Liu was born in Clovis, California, right outside of Fresno, but she later moved to Oakland at a young age. Gu was born and raised in San Francisco, just over the bridge. They have known each other for a long time now, 7 years or so. Liu attends UCLA. Gu attends Stanford. Both athletes are of Chinese descent. Both athletes won gold medals at the Olympics. You get the idea. They are very much alike in a lot of ways. There is of course one big difference between them. Liu won her 2 gold medals for the United States. Gu won 2 silver medals and a gold medal for China. Liu competes for Team USA because it is where she was born and raised. Her father also plays a big role in her affiliation. Arthur Liu, who is often subject to criticism for how he treated his daughter when she was young, is a political refugee who fled China to the US after the 1989 Tiananmen Square protests. He refused recruitment efforts by the Chinese government. His family was also targeted by a Chinese spying operation around the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing, likely to prevent him from speaking out. With all of that history in mind, Alysa Liu identifies with American values and supports her father's fight for human rights. She is proud to represent the United States. Eileen Gu went in the opposite direction. She decided at the age of 15 to honor her maternal lineage and to compete for China. Although her decision was not rooted in politics, it is political by nature. There is also a financial element. Gu collects a monster paycheck from the Chinese government. The 22-year-old skier again drew widespread backlash for her decision during this most recent Olympic cycle and was called a traitor to the United States. Gu is not at all like the other athletes who represent a country in which they do not live, but she still couldn't understand the criticism and felt like a punching bag. Alysa Liu was recently asked about her role in the ongoing political discourse during a conversation with the New York Times. Her response was one of surprise. I would imagine her naivety was intentional. Ooh, am I? She quipped. Of course, the aforementioned political discourse also involved Eileen Gu. They present a stark contrast to one another with their decisions to, or not to, represent the United States. Liu thinks the people who hate on Gu are actually in direct conflict with themselves. I think people are hypocritical for shaming her for representing China. So in my head it's a bit hypocritical, because her mom is an immigrant. Y'all would have told her to go back to China. Now that they're back in China, you're mad. Laughs, and it's sport, it doesn't matter what country we represent. Sport is sport, and she has a love for competition, she has love for the game. I think that's all that matters. There's no shame in going to where opportunity is. Of course, there is some incongruity to her comments because Gu actually went where the opportunity wasn't. There is more opportunity for skiers in the United States. Plus, she is not actually back in China. Gu lives and trains in the United States. She attends one of the most prestigious universities in the country. The only time she represents China is during competition. Even still, Liu thinks the backlash toward Gu is overblown and hypocritical. Alysa Liu labels Eileen Gu's haters as hypocrites, a story of identity, loyalty, and the Olympic stage. The Olympic Games have always been more than a contest of speed, strength, and skill. They are a stage where national pride, cultural identity, and global politics intersect in ways that can elevate athletes to heroes, or cast them into controversy. Few athletes have experienced that collision of sport and identity more dramatically than freestyle skiing sensation Eileen Gu. And when criticism of Gu reached fever pitch online, fellow figure skating star Alysa Liu stepped into the conversation, calling many of Gu's critics hypocrites. Her remarks sparked a wider debate that extended far beyond the slopes of Beijing's snow-covered mountains. At its heart, the controversy revealed a deeper question: who gets to decide where an athlete belongs? The rise of Eileen Gu. Eileen Gu's story reads like something out of a modern sports fairy tale. Born in California to a Chinese mother and an American father, Gu grew up navigating two cultures. From a young age, she displayed extraordinary athletic talent, particularly in freestyle skiing. By her mid-teens, she was already dominating competitions and attracting global attention. But in 2019, Gu made a decision that would transform her career and ignite debate. Instead of competing for the United States, she chose to represent China in international competitions. To Gu, the decision reflected a personal connection to her heritage. She had spent many summers in Beijing visiting her grandparents, learning Mandarin, and building relationships in the country her mother called home. Yet for many critics, especially in the United States, her choice became controversial. Some labeled her decision opportunistic. Others accused her of abandoning her birth country. On social media, harsher voices went even further, calling her a traitor. The criticism intensified when Ji became one of the breakout stars of the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics, winning multiple medals and captivating audiences worldwide. For supporters, she symbolized global connection and cultural pride. For critics, she represented something else entirely: the backlash. Much of the backlash surrounding Ji came from online commentators who viewed her nationality choice through a political lens. In their eyes, choosing to compete for China, particularly during a time of tense relations between Washington and Beijing, was more than a personal decision. It was seen as a statement. Yet critics often overlooked a simple fact: athletes switching national representation is not unusual in international sports. Throughout Olympic history, countless competitors have represented countries different from their birthplace. Some moved due to family ties, others for training opportunities, and some because of citizenship changes. But Gu's case drew unusually intense attention, partly because of her celebrity status and partly because of the geopolitical environment surrounding the Beijing Games. The criticism quickly spilled across Twitter, sports forums, and media commentary. And that's where Alysa Liu entered the conversation. Alysa Liu speaks out. Alysa Liu knows something about pressure. The American figure skating prodigy became the youngest U.S. women's champion in decades when she won the national title at just 13 years old. With dazzling jumps and fearless performances, Liu quickly became one of the most recognizable names.